In this video, I want to give you 3 top tips to sell more insurance, more life insurance, more critical illness, more income protection, more health insurance, any insurance product. Now, you may or may not know that back in 2008, when the credit crunch hit, I was building my mortgage brokerage, specializing in adverse credit. So in 2009, when the credit crunch hit, I literally had no business from one day to the next. So from 2009 up until 2015, I built almost a 7-figure insurance brokerage. We sold life insurance over the phone. I was buying in my leads. And in 2009, I let my best friend buy into the business, bought him out subsequently in 2011. And then from 2011 had growth. So I actually downsized in 2011 and grew again from 2011 through till 2015 before discovering my niche in mortgages and getting back to mortgages. So I have a real solid passion for protection. And the thing that I really love about insurance is the fact that it's so proactive. It's not reactive like being a mortgage broker. You know, mortgages is very transactional. It's, I need a house, I need a mortgage. Where life insurance, critical illness, income protection has to be sold. And it's more about the person and the human that you're speaking to. And it's more based on relationships. I don't know how you feel about that, but it's more about making the person know that you understand the products, but also making sure that they understand that you're their friend and you've got their best interest at heart, which, yes, you have to do in a mortgage. But people need a home, they want a home, they need a mortgage, and they want a mortgage. 9 times out of 10, when it comes to selling insurance, they know they need it, but they don't bloody want it. So I thought I'd share with you this morning 3 tips so you can sell more protection. You know, the whole of this month has been focused on sales inside the Pro Academy. We've had guest expert speakers covering off objection handling, going through sales processes, walking our mentees through, you know, doubling their protection sales, their insurance sales. So I thought I'd share with you 3 simple things that I always used to train my insurance advisors on, and I now train my mortgage brokers on. And we're in the process within my own brokerage of taking on an insurance-only advisor. And I wanted to share these things with you so you can have more success in your own insurance sales. So you're going to need to grab a pen and paper and write this down. Make sure you take some notes and share with me in the comments what you think and how you think this is best going to help you going forward. So number 1, ABC. If you've ever grown up in a sales environment, you may know that as always be closing. If you've ever seen the film Boiler Room, you know, back in the days where we used to do telephone sales and I worked in a company called Zenith Windows in Chelmsford, it was banging on the phone. And when we were doing our insurance business, because it was all internet generated leads, because they were survey leads, sometimes at one point we were phoning 100 people to get through to one sale. It was insane. We had dialer systems and everything. It was hardcore. So it was proper cold calling sales. So there's the ABC of always be closing. But that's not the ABC that I'm talking to you about. Because technically in sales, you should always be closing. But the A stands for attitude. And you need to have the right mindset before going into a conversation with a client, particularly when you go into the conversation of presenting the recommendations and the advice that you're going to be giving. You need to know that you're doing the best for your client. More often than not, I would rather tell the client, this is what I would do in your circumstances, rather than trying to give them too many options, because options causes confusion. You're the advisor, you're the knowledgeable one. You understand the products. If you understand your client correctly, know your client, KYC, then you can have the best mindset to go into the presentation, into the fact-finding meeting to make sure that your client gets that what you're trying to sell them. Your attitude dictates the outcome. If you don't believe in protection, then you're never going to sell protection. You have to believe in insurance. You have to have these things yourself. Then you can really sell it with conviction. The second thing, B, in our ABC, is behavior. If you have the right mindset, then are you congruent in terms of the actions that you're taking on a consistent basis? And I actually think that behaviors isn't just about insurance sales. You know, I used to run my business based on spreadsheets. I knew that if I bought 10 leads, we would convert at least 4 of them. We would make £600 worth of commission on each deal. I knew what the lead cost and I knew what the profit margin was. So the consistency was easy to do. But the idea is in the behavior has to match the mindset. You have to do the actions that get you the best result. And this is often a problem that I see for many people just starting out as a self-employed individual. You know, when you're first starting out, you need to understand the 4 key areas of business: marketing, sales, admin, finances. But more often than not, you don't put your effort into the right areas. You can't split your time equally, 25% into each of the 4. You have to put more effort into marketing when you're starting out. But then when you get busy, you don't stop doing what made you busy. Your behaviors have to match the attitude and the mindset that you have. And then the C is about congruence. It's about turning the need that the client has into a want. It's about delivering with conviction and passion. It's about making sure that you have the right attitude, you do the things that get the best results, and also then the behavior, it's about making sure that you have the conversation every single time. Making sure that when you put the phone down from the client, you reflect on the conversation that you've had, the objections that you've faced, and you come up with new ways in which you can, come back at the client again, new retorts, new objection handling techniques. And you almost have a little book of these techniques that you can use over and over again. And then it's about having the congruence of turning it need into a want, having the right conversations. If you have the right attitude and you do the right things and you do it consistently, then that's going to come across in your delivery when you're talking to a client, and you sell with conviction and passion. So ABC is my number 1 top tip. You have to put yourself in the right mental, physical, emotional state in order to get the right result for your client to make the best recommendation. The second thing is don't talk about products. Nobody wants life insurance. Nobody wants critical illness. Nobody wants income protection. Nobody wants health insurance. What they want is the outcome that people provide. Now, I'm a big fan of visualization, from the point of view of what you have to do with your client. If you have to imagine that they are sitting here now, what we need to do is we need to take them from their current life where they're on the phone with you, or they are in a meeting with you if you're still enacting face-to-face, and you need to place them into the future. So therefore, they can actually visualize themselves what life would be like at that point in time. And you say, imagine for a moment, what would life be like should one of you die in the next 5 years? Just take a moment and imagine what would be happening. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? How are you feeling? Because people buy off of the back of emotion. So you don't want to talk about life insurance because they don't give a shit about life insurance. What they talk about is what's going to happen to them in the future. So you need to focus on the outcomes. When you're talking about life insurance, you talk about death. When you're talking about a mortgage, you talk about debt, not mortgage. When you're talking about critical illness, you don't talk about critical illness. You talk about heart attack, cancer, stroke, or multiple sclerosis, or disability. And if you've got one of those 4, I talk about disability a lot because my best friend ended up in a wheelchair after a tragic accident about 4 years ago. And I use that story, and he doesn't mind me using that story because the critical illness that he had enabled him to pay his mortgage off. Almost, about 85% of it. But because he was able to do that, he was able to continue he was a bodybuilder, and he was able to continue and put so much effort into his training and his mindset through his physical ability that he's now a Paralympian in 3 disciplines: javelin, shot put, and discus, I think. So I use that story. Facts tell, stories sell. So you don't talk about products. I don't talk about selling health insurance. I talk about, have you ever had a back pain? Have you ever had to ring the doctor up and sit there and wait to be able to be seen? And then you have to wait 2 to 3 months to be able to, get referred across to get something done with the NHS. How much of a pain in the bum are those NHS waiting lists? When my little boy was born, He had such bad eczema that when we eventually managed to get him to see the doctor, he actually the doctor said to us, I don't know how he's sleeping through the night because it was so bad. He had massive steroid creams, the whole lot. But the beauty is we didn't actually have to wait that long to see the doctor, because what we actually did was picked up the phone, booked an appointment on the Vitality health insurance, and we were doing it at Lakeside because that's where we were at the time. And we were seen by a specialist, or he was seen by a specialist within the space of about 10 days. You know, would you rather, as a parent, have to wait, or would you rather be seen exceptionally quick? You know, how important is your child to you? Boom. We've not spoken about anything to do with health insurance. We've spoken about NHS. We've spoken about timescales. We spoke about that. So stop talking about products and start talking about outcomes. You know, I've got a best mate of mine is a roofer. Sorry, that's my brother-in-law. My best mate of mine is a plasterer. And for ages, I was banging on to him about getting income protection because he's also one of the most accident-prone people that I've ever met. And obviously in plastering, you constantly have to do a bit of wax on, wax off. You've got to move your hand up and everything else. And being in the gym, he pulled his lat muscle on his right arm and he couldn't raise his arm. Therefore, he couldn't do ceilings. He couldn't plaster. He was out of work for like 7 months. Had he taken the income protection that he had to take, wouldn't have been a problem. You know, so you use stories and you use it in that way. You don't talk about the products that you're trying to position. You talk about the outcomes. You talk about what they solve. You talk about the actual, you know, what they do and the benefits rather than what they actually are as products. And my final number 3, which I actually learned yesterday as part of our Academy Zoom meeting, that we do every single month with our mentees inside the Academy. This was actually suggested by one of my mentees, which I've never done before, but I really like the idea of it. And it's actually calling out people on the objections that they have. And when I think about that, I can't believe I've never done that before, because it's so obvious to me, because I'm so sarcastic as well. You know, they say it's the lowest form of wit. But actually turning around to, you know, one of your people and saying, you know, sometimes my clients say to me that they can't afford insurance and yet they're paying out every single week on betting. So would you rather bet on the horse winning, or would you rather bet that you're not going to die tomorrow? You know, one of my clients actually said to me that they don't really care about insurance because of the fact that they don't love their family enough. Now, they were making a laugh and a joke about it, but how ridiculous is that? When you actually bring those to the forefront and you raise the objections in front of the client, they're not going to use those objections with you because they'll feel stupid, because actually in you saying it to them, you're raising their awareness about it and you're making them feel like it's actually quite stupid, which realistically, most objections that we get are freaking stupid. So take the opportunity to chuck them out in front of your client. It takes balls, you know, it takes some kahunas, as they say. And I absolutely love, I was trained in a point, you know, Woolwich, Alexander Hall, Connells, very face-to-face. For a brokerage that I worked at in Colchester, we used to do most of the mortgage stuff over the phone. And we only went to see the client at the point of getting signatures signed, at the point of the application. And the only reason we went and did that appointment face-to-face was to make sure we got the protection signed up. And I used to, and always have, loved asking the difficult question and not saying anything. I am perfectly comfortable with silence. And I suppose a little bit of a 3.A when it comes to calling out the objections. It also links into when you ask a difficult question, keep your mouth shut. Do not speak. Sit on your hands, grip something really tight. But if you ask a difficult question, it is a matter of will as to who wins. If you speak first, you're gonna hinder your sale. If you call out an objection to a client, you sit quiet and you do not say anything until they agree to you. If you ask someone a question that's difficult, you have to give them time to process. You know, the reason why I love face-to-face sales is because you can see, if someone looks up, you can see their thinking. Whereas you lose that ability when you're over the phone. But the thing that you become really attuned to when you do over the phone sales enough is hearing. I am so good at understanding, you know, what somebody is actually saying and what the underlying current of what somebody is saying by the tonality that they use. You know, the tone that people use is a massive giveaway in relation to everything. And it helps that I've done NLP and I'm an NLP practitioner. But I've also done a lot of things around body language and things like that. So actually the tone that somebody used can really dictate, and I will call people out on it when I'm having conversations, because I've done telephone sales since 2007, when I realized that driving around the M25 for 2 hours every single day was hindering my ability to make more sales when I first went self-employed. 8 months into the job, I went over the phone and relieved some time to get more sales done. So anyway, I digress. Those are my 3 top tips when it comes to selling more insurance and making more money from insurance. As I say, inside the academy, we have a whole section focused on sales. This month has been completely focused on sales. One of my mentees actually used what was chatted about on the Zooms yesterday and managed to make a bigger sale in relation to mortgages, in relation to decreasing term insurance, in relation to critical illness cover, in relation to the will and the home insurance. Because sales isn't just about selling the insurance, it's about getting all the ancillary products, selling the broker fee, selling the mortgage, selling yourself, selling all the different insurances, selling the will, selling the home insurance, making sure that you can hit up all those individual areas. So if you want to make more sales, let me just conclude and remind you of those 3 areas. ABC, there is an element of always be closing, but attitude, behavior, congruence. Number 2 is about don't talk about products. It's about talk about outcomes. Number 3 is call out the objections and stay quiet. Do not talk. So I hope you've enjoyed this little live mini training. They are my 3 top tips for selling more protection. It's what we focused on inside the Pro Academy. I'd love you to comment in and let me know what you think of this and if that has helped you, or share any things that work really well for you when it comes to selling protection. I average around about 70, 80 pound premium for my clients and generally get a hell of a lot of income protection, hell of a lot of critical illness, always get the life insurance. And I also sell a lot of family income benefit, which I haven't mentioned. But I also get a lot of family income benefit for clients who don't end up going ahead with mortgages, because it's still vital that you take advantage of that. So thanks very much, Steve, for tuning in. Hit me up with a like if you have enjoyed this video. I'm going to be doing more content around insurance, sharing it with you inside this community, as well as bringing in some additional experts to help you as well. Have a fantastic day. Remember, now's the time to become pro.